I guess I
Awesome.
can.
Welcome everybody to this week's Secure Frontend chapter meeting. It is my turn to have the first item on the agenda. Um, this thought is a little half-baked, but I thought I'd bring it with me still anyway. So how do you all, and especially the other solo front-end engineers, handle putting weights on your issues? I feel like that's quite a little bit of a challenging task to do it, especially without a team to discuss these things. Any tricks to make it easier? And would it make sense to how do you feel about this, to use this meeting? I don't have anything currently which is which needs to put a weight on, but maybe in the future this might be a good point to discuss some things whenever there are some open questions.
Yeah, and I had the first response here. I usually go off of intuition. I feel like I've been on my team alone long enough that I sort of have written all the code, and so now I can be like, oh, you want to do this thing? Well, I know exactly where that needs to go, and like I have a very good sense of what the weight is, and if I ever don't know, I sort of always bump up the weight to be like to under promise, over deliver. And so I give most things threes, unless it's pretty straightforward, and then I go into the two range. And then if it's less straightforward, I go into five, and anything above five, I'm doing something wrong and should be broken out
Is
into something smaller.
anything above 5 is 2 issues. Okay, got that.
And that's my approach to it.
Sweet. Thanks for sharing. Would you be okay with somebody bringing some issues to refine to this meeting?
I am against that because I think it's adding more process to a less than perfect process already. Or not a less than perfect, but like a not pinned down. When I was on the Threat Insights team, we would have someone refine an issue, give a weight to it, and then have someone check that refinement. And like, I don't think I've ever seen someone be like, no, this should be, you gave this a 3, this is a 1, or something like that.
Gotcha.
And I think that this doesn't matter enough.
Very fair point, and even fairer to be against it. Just to make this clear, I never made it to I never meant it to be mandatory. It's rather an optional thing where we'd be asking for more input, being like, "Hey, I'm insecure on this. Can somebody help out?" That is as far as I could see this going, but anyhow.
For like more complicated things where someone would want like oh, okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, I
I
would never want
misunderstood that. Yeah.
Sorry, I never would want to like, let's color this button. Okay, I have to speak with the chapter first. That would not make a lot of sense.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense for more complicated issues. Paul, you have the next point.
Oh yeah. So my rules for weighting issues is if it's a super simple change, like the issue is super clear, and it's gonna take like a few minutes to implement, like removing a file or just changing one line, I would weight it as a 1. Everything that takes around a day to implement and create the MR would be a 2, in my opinion. And then anything that's more complex than a 2, but that would take less than a week to implement, would be a 3. And I agree with you, Alexander. At some point, I think that if the weight is too big, we should just weigh down the issue. But my limit is 3. So if anything bigger than a 3, I would try to break it down further. Yeah, so that's how I think about weights usually.
Sweet, thanks for sharing.
I I feel like sometimes there's issues. The reason I justify a 5 sometimes is that there's sometimes issues or tasks that are very sequential, where you're like, okay, I need to do A before B and then B before C and so forth. And like sometimes I think being this the only front end engineer on the team, I don't have to justify things to anyone or like my technical breakdowns. So I'm like, okay, I know I need to do these things in order. I might as well just make this a 5 instead of breaking the task down further and then making them like blocked on each other. It's really, I think I really just do it to save myself the process of making another issue sometimes.
So I guess that it's usual for you to have multiple MRs for a single issue, right?
Yeah, totally.
And do you usually put an effort to find the best approach also in estimation? I mean, for example, I had an example recently. Well, it didn't change a lot of files, but it took me more than a week to come up with approach, not to change a lot of files. So would you weight it also at 3 and higher, or would you like put the estimation out of this weight, this investigation, I mean?
Would was this one of the container security issues that you, or is it just
no, it's from that. It was that actually that I like last week I jumped. Well, it's already the second approach that I'm coming with. Like the first one was bigger. I decided that we should go with this. So iteration was coming with easy approach. I came up with that. So in general, this task lasts already for a month with all the approaches, because you know it. We have a sidebar basically, and it has like traveling history. So you can either open and close it, or you can open it and like go very deep inside layers of this sidebar and or go back. So, and basically anytime if you change something on some of the layers, the form becomes dirty, and before going back or further, you have to show the warning model that are you sure you want to discard the changes? I know that we have a use case when you leave the page, but with the sidebar, you stay in the page. I mean, with the drawer, just with the regular drawer. So basically, it took some time to figure out, and it really took a lot of investigation to find a better approach. So would you put this, like the whole investigation as a separate issue, or would you just give this the highest weight to the task?
I guess it could be a spike issue if there's a big technical challenge to investigate. So yeah, it could be a separate issue with its own weight, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I guess I have raised weights on issues before where it's just like I gave something a 3, I thought it was straightforward, and as soon as I got into it, I was like, oh no, this is very complex and I am not making much progress on this very quickly. And then I'll just bump it. In that instance, I would just bump the weight and be like, this is a 5. It's going to take a bit, and then like reevaluate priorities around that, asking product if it's still worth the extra effort. So that's probably what I would have done in that instance, given that your investigation didn't take more than like a week or something.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for your input, actually.
What because what weight is a measure of complexity, right?
Well,
okay, cool.
Yeah, sounds to me as well, but you know how this complexity is measured. For example, I'm not sure number of yeah, you know, you can spend a lot of time on coming with approach and like change 3 lines, or you
Yeah.
can like change 11, 12 files or something like that. It's sometimes not straightforward. Because with that task that I mentioned, I only figured out that a lot of corner cases during the implementations. So basically, raising the weight on the fly is more suitable, I think, here than like just from the beginning give like straight 3 or 5, like very precise.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, it made me a little raise an eyebrow when I hear lines changes. So weight definitely is about complexity, and I feel like we should rather try to guess the amount of hour-ish than lines of code. I guess that's what this number represents.
Yeah, there's also, I remember in my previous jobs where we had all the Scrum approaches, that it also was a topic of discussion, because like one engineer can put 3 hours and other can put 8 in the same task, I would say. So that's also a tricky one. Or you mean like, so if we put this personal like, for example, I do this task in 2 hours, so I put, I don't know, 1 or 2, and somebody is doing it for a week, and so it will be 8 or 5. So probably does it reflect the weight of the issue?
Absolutely. And the best thing about it, I can only speak for the teams that I've been in, but from what I've been seeing here at GitLab so far, is that those weights are not incredibly important to
Oh,
us.
that's good.
So it is nice to have, and that is kind of where this question is coming from. I personally do like them a little, especially as long as they're consistent. I've been working on the Beautifying Our UI initiative on the last milestone, and that was a blast. And I came back from this with a lot of different tasks open, and I actually felt a little unproductive. But I checked back on my activities chart and was like, this does not look unproductive at all. Like there was a lot going on. So measuring those weights and actually getting this checked after 4 weeks, having accomplished a certain number, for me that kind of helps me being more confident about the milestone that has passed. But that's a good thing I see in those weights, but that might be only me as well.
Mm. Yeah, I sort of going off of that, I have like a weighted 3 issue that I haven't been able to get in for like milestones now, because not because it was complex, but it's just like blocking and like other things. And I know the task is a 3, but also it's like, well, still working on this thing because I have to wait for blah blah blah. And it's very confusing sometimes.
Absolutely. Sweet. Anybody, anything to add about weights or any last minute calls? Nothing? Sweet. So let's wrap this up for today. Thanks everybody for showing up, and I'll be seeing you in the next Frontend chapter meeting.
Cool.
Bye-bye.
Sweet.
All right.
Have a good one.
Have a nice day.